Wow, the Loch cruise is just stunning. Well, that was just sensational. What a fabulous, fabulous experience that was. Good morning, welcome to another video. We've just parked up at the Glenfinnan Viaduct, probably most famous for the Harry Potter movies, and actually at the weekend they had the Harry Potter train going over it, a steam train going over it, so it was rammed here at weekend. We toyed with the idea of stopping off, but in the end there was just nowhere to park. So we've come back here. And the reason we've come back here is today we're on Loch Shiel cruises. We're on a 6-hour cruise that'll take us the full length of Loch Shiel, and hopefully it's going to bring us a little bit of wildlife. There's a chance of seeing otters, white-tailed eagle, northern diver, and a whole myriad of other wildlife. So come along for the journey and see what I see. Something worth bearing in mind is that you can't actually park at the pier where you board the boat from. So you need to park in the community car park back at Glenfinnan. It's about a kilometre walk, I would say, from the car park to the ferry. There is a place that you can drop off, so if you're struggling with your mobility, you know, they might let somebody drop you off and then they go and park up and come back and meet you. But there is a walk to get to the boat, just something worth bearing in mind. Safety briefing given, all aboard. Met Ali the captain and Peter who's the wildlife guru, not the expert. So we're going to head off now. We've just been informed that the top end of the loch is a place to look for golden eagles, and then when we get to the bottom end of the loch, that's where we're looking for the white-tailed eagles. So fingers crossed, we'll get some sightings for you. A couple of things to note about the Loch Shiel cruise. First thing is that they've got everything that you need on board. So they have a really well stocked bar downstairs. There's tea, coffee, hot chocolate, alcoholic drinks, soft drinks, everything that you need. There's a toilet on board, all your modern comforts. They've got blankets if you're cold, they've got ponchos if it rains, you name it, they really do look after you. And you're made to feel well looked after while you're on board, which is a fantastic thing. The key with any kind of cruise like this is more eyes are better than one, and so you've got lots and lots of people on the boat, and what Peter is doing all the time is encouraging you to look to the cliff lines, look out onto the water, and to keep looking out for anything that you think is worth spotting, and then when you see it, you point at it and draw attention and you keep tracking it, and then more people do the same. And obviously there are probably about 8 to 9 people, maybe 10 people on the boat, so that's 10 people all searching for wildlife, which is a really good way of keeping that spotting going. There is no wind whatsoever today, and what's happened as a result of that is we've got wispy clouds in the top of the mountains, which is making spotting the eagles look quite difficult. However, what we've got is some of the most breathtaking reflections I think I've ever seen, and I think possibly the crew have seen, because the crew are coming out with their phones and taking photographs also. So I'm going to flip the camera around and you can enjoy this just like I am. At the minute I'm chopping and changing between lenses, so I've got my 24-70 which I'm using as my landscape lens, and I've been using that for all the reflection shots that have popped up on the screen so far. I've got my 500mm and I've got my monopod for if we've got any opportunities for any of the whitetails that are perched in any of the trees. That's a shot that I've not got anything decent of, so I'd love to get a shot like that. But Peter has just informed me that if the whitetail do make an appearance, they'll come right to the boat, and he said take your 500mm off because they'll be within about 7 meters of the boat. So if that's the case, I've got my 70-200 and I'll very quickly change it over. The Loch cruise is just stunning. It's like it winds this loch. It's not a straight line. You can't see all the way down the bottom, and as you go through the narrows, it kind of winds from one area to another, and every time you come around a corner it opens in yet to another breathtaking vista with mountains and reflections, and it's just absolutely breathtaking. And I would imagine if you were a landscape photographer, it would just be a dream come true to come on something like this, because it is just breathtaking. We have seen some wildlife along the way. We've seen a young juvenile black-throated diver, which are actually rarer than golden eagles, and probably don't get the press that they deserve, but absolutely stunning little bird. So to put that into context, there are 500 breeding pairs of golden eagle in the UK, and there are only 200 breeding pairs of black-throated diver. So to see a juvenile that's successfully fledged on the water, looking nice and healthy, diving away, is a real success story. Look at that. Oh, he's just at it all gone. Well, that was just sensational. I've been on the Lady Jane on the Isle of Mull many times, and I've photographed whitetail sea eagles coming in and taking fish off the surface many times before. That was something else. I think on a number of counts. One, the water was absolutely dead calm. Whenever I've been out on the Lady Jane before, there's always been chop, which has made it a little bit difficult. Two, this is a loch, a very small loch in comparison to Loch Shiel, and as a result they caught the fish and then they went and landed on the shore and ate them. Three, there was two of the buggers, a male and a female, and the female took the fish and the male went and landed at the side of her and was kind of looking at her thinking, I want a piece of that. And then eventually he took off, took a fish, and he disappeared off into the distance. There was no way on this earth he was going to share that fish with the female. The female then took off and landed up in the tree and posed for us for ages up in the tree. Lots of different positions in various different treetops. Absolutely stunning. Some of the best, well no, the best shots, portrait shots of white-tailed seagulls I've ever got. What a fantastic experience. Wow, that's leg one. We've come all the way down Loch Shiel, Loch Shiel, and we've now got an hour for lunch in an area that I'll find out the name for you. I'll pop it up on the screen because I can't A, remember what it's called, and B, if I remember rightly, pronounce it. So I'll pop it up on the screen for you. Couple of things that are worth pointing out. Peter, who is the guide on the boat, is just a fantastically interesting man. And in particular, his passion for wildlife. It's infectious. It really is infectious. His knowledge, I mean, from the small pieces of conversation that I've had with him on the boat, he was in the military and he was in Kenya and he was teaching people in Kenya how to track wildlife. It's not a bad resume, that, is it? So absolutely fantastic. And his knowledge of this area in particular and the animals that live in this area and the work that he's done with them is just, it's sublime. He's the kind of guy I could speak to for days on end and not tire of it. I think he'd probably tire of it before I did. But it has been a sensational cruise, absolutely sensational. The weather conditions have been optimal, I would say. You know, probably not for watching golden eagle at the top end of the loch, because the peaks of the mountains were covered in cloud, which meant difficult to spot them. But the white-tailed sea eagle, I challenge anybody not to be impressed by white-tailed sea eagle. They're just such an absolutely awesome animal, bird of prey, raptor, 2-meter wingspan. They're enormous. And you know, I've had conversations with people while we've been up in Scotland about being able to spot the difference between a buzzard and an eagle. I think once you've seen an eagle, you can spot the difference, because these things are just huge, absolutely huge. So what a fantastic part one, halfway through the cruise. Keep tuned though, because I think it's got plenty more to offer. So we're on part two now. We've disembarked after a lovely lunch and we're off back up towards Glenfinnan Viaduct. Hopefully we'll get to see a few more eagles and a few more black-throated divers along the way. So come along, see what I see. We've just been to the white-tailed eagle nest site, and you could see the white-tailed eagle's nest up in a very tall conifer tree. And what Peter explained was that it is a classic white-tailed eagle nest, in that you've got a low area which is the main nest site, and then it's got a crown above it which provides some shelter for the chicks below. It's been a nest site for a long period of time, and actually when the previous nest fell down during a storm and they went to investigate the nest, they found out that 60% of the diet of these white-tailed eagles is made up of grey-lag geese. And just before we saw the white-tailed eagles last time, all the grey-lag geese in the area took to flight, which is probably a telltale sign that the white-tailed eagles were on their way. So here we have the male white-tailed sea eagle. Female's already been taking a fish and she's gone off now into the woods.
You need to get licenses. Penny, have you had a good look?
Wow, he's just stunning. So there you have it, Loch Shiel cruises. What a fabulous, fabulous experience that was, and quite a surprise. I wasn't expecting it. I don't know what I was expecting really, but I certainly wasn't expecting something that would rival Mull Charters for white-tailed sea eagle experiences. It was fabulous. Some of the closest I've ever got to a white-tailed sea eagle, particularly the portrait shots of it in the tree and on the shoreline eating the fish. Absolutely fantastic. So if you're in the Glenfinnan area and you've got 6 hours to spare, 6 hours well spent I might add, I would definitely check out Loch Shiel cruises. I'll put a link on the in the description. I'll put a website address up on the screen now for you to see, but it's definitely worth having a look. Hopefully the photographs that I've popped up on the screen for you have justified that. I would imagine you need to make sure you bring yourself waterproof clothing. The weather can change quickly. It is Scotland after all, so the weather can go from sunshining as it did then to we just got a very light shower, but I would imagine it could be absolutely torrential. They do have ponchos and things on board and blankets to keep you warm, but it's always better if you're prepared with your own equipment, I think. So if you've liked that video, please give it a like. Subscribe if you've not done so already. Go on, won't cause any harm. And until next time, ta-ra.